can you tell me a bit about the common? Anything to say about the common?
Yeah, I remember the common for all sorts of reasons. As a boy exploring the whole thing, in particular, you see, my uncle was old Bill Clifford, who lived in the High Street. He kept the shoe shop. He was my mother's sister was married to him, and he was a great character, a pretty irascible sort of bloke. But I used to go shooting over the common with him as a boy, and because he kept the shoe shop and also mended shoes as well, we used to go over 6 o'clock in the morning, right to the far wooded area by the Kintbury Gate, and he would shoot rabbits there and occasionally things that were perhaps out of season. But he was a marvellous old boy, and his garden was absolutely phenomenal because it was the longest garden in the High Street, because it ran from the High Street up to Fairview Road at its widest point, and it was stuck full of sheds, stables, summer houses and everything else. And of course there was a time when they actually brought cows off to the common. And I can remember, of course, particularly Macklinsburg coming down off the common with John Pike rounding them up. I mean, Cow Lane as it was then, it wasn't then, but it was originally, really was well named, because I mean, the cow mess down the road off the common was quite amazing. And I can remember, of course, unquoted elsewhere, but I am actually the only person, as far as I'm aware, who was there when Eisenhower addressed the troops immediately before D-Day. Which was an absolutely amazing occasion, and my great friend then was Michael Axford, who was the son of the local police sergeant, and he smuggled us onto the bushes which were adjacent to the cricket ground then, still are adjacent to the cricket ground. And we listened to Eisenhower addressing, I don't know how many there were, some thousands of American troops, because their morale had got very low immediately pre-D-Day, and he needed to bolster them up. I was there, as the saying goes. And then, of course, to me, the commons in cricket are intermingled. And I well remember the first time that the cricket ground was dedicated, and the problems we had with one or two commoners who were insistent on continuing to cut the fence to make sure the cattle could graze on the cricket ground. Because pre-war, that was their way. But, of course, when the War Memorial Ground was created in 1948, and in 49 became really into being, then we had fairly major problems until it was properly fenced. And the continuance of cricket, because the common and cricket are together as far as I'm concerned. And as I've been a member of the cricket club since 48, continuously, still am. I mean, it's, to me, it's, those two things are together.
Yes. I didn't realise that Eisenhower had his review here.
Oh yes.
It's very interesting. Now, was that at the time when the barracks existed down the A4?
Oh yeah.
Well, tell me a bit about that.
Well, they were only private houses in my time. I mean, their name as barracks, I know not where they came from. But they were private houses. If you wanted to talk to someone who lived there, Brian Tubb, Gene Tubb's son, he actually started his married life in them there. And they were just a block, a row of houses, nothing more than that, and they were called the barracks. They may have had some historical association with troops, but not in my time.
Oh, I see. Because I've heard them mentioned before, but
yeah.
not so much about it.
Because you see, this whole area was absolutely swamped with troops everywhere around here. I don't know if anyone else has talked to you about it, but I mean, the corn exchange was a donut dugout immediately before D-Day, and I mean, the Americans just took it over totally. And the High Street was full of tent traps and gun emplacements and everything else.
Was it?
Yes.
Of course, they had those pathetic little pillboxes along the canal.
Oh, they might have been useful.
Oh, they might in those days.
Oh,
They wouldn't be
yes.
much good today.
No, but they might have been then.
Oh,
and it
yes.
was a line of defence along the canal, you see, which was very firmly recognised because everybody was involved in the whole thing. I was in fact a police messenger during the war and had to turn out every time the sergeant went. My father was in the brigade until he went into the full-time brigade. So we thought that was a pretty good line of defence.
Yes.
Don't knock it.
Oh no, I wouldn't. You had a very good ARP system, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean it used to work anyway. Chap called Percy was the guru of the ARP in my remembrance.
Well, he instituted this sort of call-out system.
That's right.
For war, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Which was very advanced.
Yeah.
Yes, that's interesting. I haven't heard that aspect mentioned before.
The whole of the area underneath the railway bridge was all the pedestrianised area was covered with very large square concrete tank traps, so that the only access point was actually down the street, and there were holes in the road which had removable lids where they could actually introduce railway rails in there to produce what was going to be some sort of a barrier for tanks. There was a gun emplacement outside what was Teddy Pratt's the butcher's, with a gun which was occasionally mounted to fire up the high street. That was the intent, or down the high street, because it could go either way, but that was there for years, a huge gun emplacement. It was probably all of 10 yards by 5 yards.
That's very interesting. The population, what do you reckon the population is today?
Well, the population is pushing 6,000 now, and it was then something of 3,000 and just over.
It didn't seem to move much before the war.
No, and it didn't for a long time after the war, but it's really rocketed in the last 10 years.
There's all this new housing. We've got to thank Mr. Trenchwood for that.
I wonder whether it's entirely, I mean, John Norgate takes an awful lot of stick, and he's a property developer, and that's his job, is to find land to develop on. I just wonder whether the multinationals don't have a lot to answer for, because you see inevitably those old family firms which were Hungerford's lifeline, James's and the Ward family with Chilton, were tremendous employers of people, and then they were taken over, and the multinationals just sold them off as unit numbers. They weren't interested in the people. And suddenly the whole thing was opened up for housing development.
Yes.